difference. City News.
It's 17:30 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. I am Umaru, Sanda, Amadu. Tonight, I'm here with
Akosua, Otchere.
And coming up over the next 90 minutes.
When you can't pass it on to the price, you pass it backwards, which means you cut down on employment, cut down on inputs, and therefore you downside.
Parliament of Ghana has barely 24 hours to decide if it will approve government's request for more taxes on Ghanaians. We'll be hearing the arguments in favor and against. Also coming up, Doomsor looms, but just for 2 weeks. That's according to power producers and distributors. We'll be telling you more here on Eyewitness News. And later, President Akufo-Addo's staff strength of 1,047 at the Jubilee House that has raised eyebrows. Stay with 97.3 CTF for more on this and many other stories on Eyewitness News. And in business,
Securities and Exchange Commission SEC clarifies 5.5 billion cedis approved by Parliament is for all collapsed fund management companies, not just Black Shield customers.
That's in 15 minutes. Michael Ogbodu will be coming from the business desk of CTFM and City TV to tell you the latest headlines in the world of business. Eyewitness News is live across Ghana on a number of affiliate stations and across the globe on citynewsroom.com. We are interactive. Send us your messages 0549 986 996 0549 986 996. Send your views and the world would hear. We are across Ghana on a number of affiliate stations. Let me share the list with you. Stations that you can listen to us on, depending on where you are in this country. You can listen to Eyewitness News. In the Western region, we are on Premier 100.5 FM, Beach 105.5 FM, and Sky Power 93.5 FM. All of these are in Takrady. In the Bono region, we are on Greener 95.9 FM in Sunyani. In the Ashanti region, on Orange 107.9 FM in Kumasi. In the Eastern region, on Right 90.1 FM in Somanya. In the Volta region, on Holy 98.5 FM in Aflau. In the Northern region, on Dasuma 91.9 FM, 99.1 FM in Yendi. In Upper East, on Word 88.3 FM in Zuarungu. And Upper West, on Bugli Radio 88.6 FM in Wa. Let's know what you think by sending your views via Twitter, hashtag City Newsroom, at Umaru Sanda, or at City973. Let's settle for details of our stories now. I'm looking at the citynewsroom.com portal, and there's a story attributed to the government's Minister for Information, and it's titled, "Let's Find a Sensible Middle Ground, Government to Businesses Opposing New Tax Bills." The story says the government says it is open to talks with the business community opposing the new tax revenue bills currently before Parliament. It follows numerous calls from industry players for the government to drop the tax bills due to the potential impact on business operations. However, in response to the concerns, Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma said the government is willing to consider input aimed at amending the bills in the interest of policymakers and the business community. Government is under pressure to have 3 new revenue bills passed by Parliament as it seeks to rake in 4 billion cedis per year to shore up revenue to fix the ailing economy and secure board approval for a bailout from the International Monetary Fund. The bills include the excise tax stamp and excise duty amendment bills, income tax amendment bill, and growth and sustainability levy bill. They are already being rejected by some business groups. So Parliament has up to 24 hours or so to deal with this before it goes on recess. This morning, Bernard Avle called up one of Ghana's foremost tax analysts and specialists, who is also a lawyer, Dr. Ali Nachia, and asked him what he makes of it and what government can do to get out of the current quagmire as he tries to send good books to the IMF. Listen.
I think that the tax incidence analysis should have been done even before thinking of whether it is the appropriate way to introduce any such tax. Because as you keep hearing from all reviewers of this growth and sustainability levy, it happens to be in existence and be rechristened and repackaged National Fiscal Stabilization Levy and what have you. Now, let's remember when it started way back under, I think, introduced by Honorable Osama those days, it was to stay for 2 years.
It was actually Dufour, I think.
Come again?
I think it was Kwabena Dufour's time, 2009.
No, it started with Honorable Osama.
Oh, before then he also, okay.
Yeah, it was there. And it was also the same. A new government having, as is always stated, inherited a moribund economy, and all hands should be on them to rebuild the economy. So that makes it appealing to all businesses. So they are prepared to sacrifice and contribute. But when the sun sets, that means you're giving it 2-3 years. If it is up, the best is to abolish it. But it is being extended, and name changed, and now we have this. The question is this. Remember, if in any crisis you introduce a levy, then very soon there will be a levy for everything, including the air we breathe. Why do I say that? COVID came, we introduced COVID Health Recovery Levy 1%. We're okay because we are prepared to help government to resolve a crisis. In financial sector, income, we have the financial sector stabilization levy on banks, and they are paying. Then we come again. So if you are even to bring in such a levy, a lot of existing levies need therefore to be repealed. Because if it is replacing, we need to see so. Now to talk about it being extended to other sectors, if I take the extractive sector, for example, mining and petroleum, it's 1% on their turnover. Remember, we are already taking a royalty, which is also 5% of their turnover. So for me, if you sit down with the industry and agree, I want to increase royalty from 5% to 6%, you will get the same impact. But the interesting thing that the incidence analysis would show is that if you take the royalty, it is a cost of production. So it is deductible as an expense in arriving at the profit before corporate tax is paid. But if you make it a levy, it is not an expense. It's not deductible. So it's a sunk cost. And that is where businesses are saying it's going to increase my cost by that percentage because I can't recover it. It's not an expense. It's not a cost. Just as we decoupled debt fund levy and national health insurance levy from the VAT and made them straight levy. That led to a cost buildup. And today, like we keep saying, if you look at the rate of inflation, it didn't just jump up. It is a gradual creeping event of this multiple costs. Because when you cannot pass on the cost, you absorb it. Which is why another segment of Buta is saying, fine, if you don't listen and you bring it on board, we are going to absorb it. And how do they do that? When you can't pass it on to the price, you pass it backwards, which means you cut down on employment, cut down on inputs, and therefore you downsize. And that would hit the economy backwards because unemployment would have to increase. People who supply certain inputs will not get consumption because businesses don't require it any longer. Because I think that if it's about meeting a target GDP ratio or trying to show that we can create fiscal space so that IMF will realize that yes, we can bite the bullet, then we need to look at expenditure management cutback and also being effective and efficient in even the existing revenue mobilization measures. Because for 3 years, 2020, 2021, 2022, the GRA, including COVID years, exceeded target. It means there is something they are doing right and need the support and the push to block all leakages, block loopholes, and then we can mobilize and see what we can raise. But if we keep bringing on taxes, it hits on the existing taxpayers who are compliant. the burden increases, and that is tax deepening. You are not widening your tax net when you introduce taxes. You widen your tax net when those who were either to not pay are made to pay. For example, they had exempted. We sit down with them, we say, look, our economy is in crisis. Can we take back our exemption for the next 2 years? And when things are okay, we give it back to you. It is about bringing everybody on the table, like we did on debt restructuring, the bond restructuring. We need to do the same for all facets of the economy where our tax revenue gets locked up. Tax exemption, tax holidays. Can we sit around the table and say, look, let's take it off for a year or two. Let me mobilize, rebuild the economy, and then we all move on. Because if you're enjoying all these incentives and the economy is not strong, you will not be able to also grow. When they talk about growth and sustainability, it's two-way. For government to also grow and sustain itself, and you, the business, too, when I get the resources, I'll create the enabling environment to sustain you so you continue growing. But the issue is about the consultation, getting the people to sit around the table and agree, and then we all move on, rather than just throwing it at them and they just don't know how to go about it again.
So that's Dr. Ali Nachia, Abdallah Ali Nachia. He is a tax analyst and a lawyer. Speaking to Bernard Avle on the City Breakfast Show there, his advice and perspective on the raft of taxes that the government is seeking to introduce in Parliament as part of the general plan to secure an IMF bailout. So that issue is still in before the House. We'll be hearing from some of the members of Parliament on this subject, but that will be after this quick break.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
There's something special happening at Heritage Christian College. They are bustling campus.
Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/city97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/city973, and Instagram at instagram.com/city973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 CTF, and we are discussing the taxes that the government is hoping would rake in some revenue as it goes to the IMF to show its books to the international organization asking for support. And we brought you an interview with Dr. Ali Abdallah Nachia, who spoke on the City Breakfast Show this morning, and his advisor he's giving to government. We can now hear from the government spokesperson, Minister for Information, MP for Otchere. He spoke to Bernard Avle on the point of view on City TV last night. The first question Bernard asked him was, okay, is it the case that if these tax amendments fail, government would be in doom? Let's listen to the answers.
I think that it's fair to say that if we don't do what we have to do on behalf of the Republic, we will have about two major challenges. One is got to do with how we, on a daily basis, are funding government to function. And two, it's got to do with completing all the things that we need to do to be able to get the kind of financing assurances necessary to get a board approval for the International Monetary Fund deal. And so it is a very important set of measures that we have to examine and work towards passing.
Do you get the sense that the opposition understands this? I'm asking this based obviously on what has happened. As we speak, we are not sure who has a majority in Parliament because, unfortunately, we lost Honorable Philip Bassoa. So if that's anything to go by, the numbers in Parliament are even. And following the acrimonious approval of the 6 ministerial nominees and the fallout in the NDC, we are not really sure if they want to play ball. What's your sense about the mood in the minority?
I think there are enough experts in this country and also in politics who have a very clear sense of how seminal this transaction is. And I'll be surprised, therefore, if there's any of my colleagues on the minority side who doesn't have a sense of how important this is. This is a major bridge that we have to cross on our journey to complete I won't exactly say prior actions, but on our journey to complete all the things that we need to do to get this deal signed off. I get the sense that they have an understanding. I get the sense that they also want to do what is best for Ghana. We may differ on a few specifics, and therefore what is important is how we tease out those specifics and resolve those specifics, but in the end, collectively do what is in the best interest of this country, which is primarily to close this revenue gap, about 4 billion in the annual fiscal program. It will, on the medium to short-term side, ensure that there's a lot more liquidity, but it will also more significantly give the kind of complementary assurances that particularly the external creditors and the fund are looking for, that we are committed to our word in being fiscally disciplined, and therefore lead us to the conclusion we are looking for.
Clarify this for me. Are these tax proposals necessary now because we didn't get the board approval by end of March, which was our initial aim, so that we are looking for this money to plug the fiscal hole while we wait for the 3 billion? Or are these tax proposals prior actions for board approval? If you can just clarify for us.
So when I say prior actions, I will put them in a broad context and use the expression loosely. Remember, between July and November, when we negotiated with the fund, and I even think in one of my interviews I mentioned to you, there were a number of things that we agreed in principle with the fund, that these things must be done to put us in a position where we can even have a staff level agreement. And some of those things included the debt reorganization that we needed to do, the fiscal adjustment program that we needed to go through. In fact, in particular, closing the revenue gaps in the budget. And you will therefore find that these measures were mentioned in November as part of efforts to ensure that we close the revenue gap in the budget. We have not gotten around to now passing the specific legislation, because when it comes to revenue, you first approve the policy in the general budget, and then you come with the specific revenue bills to the floor and have them passed. And that is where we are now. So it is part of the general framework of things that we need to do to be in line with what we had already discussed with the fund, that these are the things we'll do to bring our revenue position to a particular point. That is very separate also from what we agreed to do on the debt side and even on the expenditure side. But yes, this is one of those set of measures that we need to complete to show fidelity with the promises we have made, that we are committed to moving our revenue to GDP from the about 13-14% where it is, north towards the about 15 to about 19% that we should be at least by now, getting towards.
The finance minister in February, when the pensioner bondholders met him, gave a sense that if we didn't get the IMF deal by end of March, the economy would collapse. The president in March, early March, 1st March, when he met the diplomats or diplomatic corps, also urged them to help us get a deal through before end of March. Today is the 29th of March. We don't have a deal. Is the economy going to collapse?
Bernard, we're not in a good place. We're not in a good place because we don't have access to the international capital markets. And for a country that until recently was having a balance of trade deficit and then significant balance of payment deficits, even if we've started in recent years until now having a balance of trade surplus, and even for that balance of trade surplus, not all of it necessarily translates into balance of payment positives. It means that if you don't have access to the international capital markets, then your access to hard currency to continuously service your import obligations is significantly threatened. And when you don't have a lot of access to that, you need to ensure that you find ways of shoring it up as quickly as possible so that pressures don't re-emerge. Through a combination of efforts, I think we've been able to bring some relative stability to the currency currently, but it is important that we complete all of these prior actions, lock down this deal, and get a shore up, first from the fund and then from other inflow sources to be able to cement the kind of stability that we are seeing on the currency front. Apart from that, then you have the question of the bigger economy. As you deal with the currency side and the balance of payment side, you need to be in a position where you can also rein in some of the fiscal excesses that have been engendered in the years gone by, which is part of what we need to do to ensure that the economy doesn't crash. And then now on the broader real sector side, be able to fund the interventions aimed at bringing expansion and economic inclusion for people to, have access to jobs, incomes, and then their own improved quality of life. Very finally, because the cost of living pressures are linked one way or the other to some of the currency and external pressures we have had, it is also important that you quickly complete this transaction so that the transmission effect into the cost of living bracket is also watered down. And then the cost of living pressures that people feel on a daily basis can be contained. So my answer to you is that we are not in a good place. We need to do what must be done so that we can cement the kind of relative stability we have had in the last 4 or 5 months, and then gradually begin to reverse the economic challenges that we have had.
Now, finally, apart from the minority you have to deal with, a number of business groups have opposed aspects of these taxes. So, for example, the Food and Beverage Association of Ghana, FABAG, appealed to government to stop the proposed increase in excise tax on sweetened fruit juice, spirits and water as part of the excise tax amendment. They met Speaker Bagbin earlier, and in many interviews they've said that this will kill an already desperately overtaxed industry. The two, GUTA, Ghana Union Trade Association, they've said interest rates are high, exchange rates has affected them. The growth and sustainability tax will do anything but cause growth. In their view, it's going to kill the private sector. These are important partners in our economy. What is government saying to them? You are taxing them and yet saying you want to grow. How are you going to deal with that level of agitation? We know, for example, also that the Ghana Federation of Labour sent a memorandum. They say these tax hikes will destroy the income of workers and all that of that. What is your response to these groups?
And I'll say 3 things. First of all, I think we must also acknowledge that whenever you talk about revenue measures and things aimed at bringing in some more revenue, some segment of the Ghanaian economy will not be happy with it and will push back. So that in itself is something we must understand, contextualize, and accept. Number 2, I think it is commendable that all of these groups are raising their specific challenges with these 3 revenue bills. And I think we must encourage them to come forward with those specifics and perhaps what amendments they want to see done to make it more bearable. Number three, I think that what we then need to do is to get into a space that says, I may not get 100% of what I want, and you may not get 100% of what I want or what you want, but we must get something at the end of the day that allows us as a republic to move forward in this enterprise. So what can you accommodate? What can we accommodate? So, for example, we in government must listen some more to these concerns and see how to accommodate some of them. Our colleagues who are pushing back and raising these concerns must also be willing to listen and examine things from different perspectives. Those of us on the other political side must also be willing to come to the table with some alternatives so that in the end we can find some sensible middle ground that allows us to pass these 3 revenue measures, which we have already committed to in the initial economic program for 2023, and close this gap as we have it and go forward to conclude both the external credit assurances or financing assurances from the creditors and the fund program itself as quickly as possible.
So that's Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah speaking to Bernard Avle on the point of view on CDTV last night. It has to do with 3 tax amendments introduced by the government to Parliament. Whether or not those amendments will pass by tomorrow, we do not know. And let me also say on record, I've been trying to hear from the NDC side in Parliament what the position is. Unfortunately, the party's MPs in the House have not been responding to our request for an interview to tell us what their position, whether or not they'll be accepting the government's proposal. And you did hear Bernard put that question to the minister, if the minority understands where the government is coming from and where the government is headed. The minister believes, yes, the minority side understands. There hasn't been a lot of brouhaha around this issue, as has been in the past few days over other issues that have been brought before the House. Suffice it to say, though, that we have not heard from the NDC. We do not know if it could be because the last time the NDC gave us a public position on an issue like the passage of minister nominees, it failed woefully. And perhaps it is for that reason that its fingers has been bent and is not willing to take a position. But we'll keep trying to hear from the Finance Committee members, especially of the NDC in Parliament, on what the position of the party in the House is. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. Please stay with us for more coming up on Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
For Pepsodent, smiles are
Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabraka in Accra. Emmanuel Zevo from Hohwe says, so the only way this government knows how to raise revenue is tax, and tax. Where is the production that they promised Ghanaians? What's happened? The revenues, what happened to the revenues they have generated through taxes? This government has failed us big time. Baba Chairman in Tamale says, in as much as I think the government needs to raise more revenue, I equally think increasing taxes at this critical time is unwarranted. Fiamogo Inabo says, why can't this government think once about its citizens? Why introduce new taxes at this time? Don't they know that businesses are struggling to survive? They should work in the national interest, as they always say. This is becoming too much. Daniel Atia sends a message from Dansoman, and he says, I sincerely believe this time round the minority side will do the needful by protecting Ghanaians against the proposed insensitive taxes led by the Akufo-Addo government. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 CTFM. We can now hear from the minority. Boku Central Member of Parliament, former Minister for various portfolios, including environment, information, is Honorable Mahama Ayariga. Honorable, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Good evening, Moro.
Good evening. The government is in very, very trying times, needs to send a very beautiful looking book to the IMF. That includes dealing with our own fiscals and the challenges that arise from there. 4 billion cedis is hoping to raise in domestic revenue. It's bringing taxes before you, the people's representatives, to make a determination whether or not it should go through. What is the position of your side on these taxes that the government is introducing, the amendments?
Yeah, we are opposed to taxes. We are listening to Ghanaians. These taxes were brought some time ago. Some of them are far back at December 2022. December. And at that time, the committee met. They had a different view, but our position has evolved. And as a caucus, I know that we are opposed to these taxes, and we're going to fight them. So if you look at the order paper, you will see that we have sponsored amendments that seek to delete the charging provisions of the bills. So if we succeed in defeating the bill, the charging provisions at the consideration stage, then we would have defeated the taxes. So that is our approach. We are against.
I don't understand that last part. Explain it further, please.
You know, in every bill, there's usually a particular clause that seeks to impose the tax. And the rest of the clauses might just be further elucidations, administrative mechanisms, and etc. So when you want to attack a tax bill, you attack the charging provision. So the provision that says that there shall be imposed a tax of X, Y, Z. You know, that's the charging provision. So, or there shall be imposed a levy of 2%, That's the charging provision. So at the consideration stage, if you attack that provision and you are successful in your attack, then you would have killed the tax bill. So that's what we're doing.
So this would be debated on the floor, or you have to come via motion. How do you do this attacking you talk about?
It's been advertised for consideration. So when we sit tomorrow, we have to take the bill through the consideration stage. It is during the consideration stage that our proposed amendment to the bill, which has been advertised, will be taken. Then our position will be debated, and vote will be put. The matter will be put to a vote, and then we will vote, and it's going to be a voice vote. If we are not satisfied, we'll call for division, and then there will be a head count, and the matter will be determined. So we're very confident that all our colleagues will be in the House, and all of them will vote in line with our position to vote against the bills.
Are you really confident of going into division 8 days into a huge failure on division, where you did a head count or head vote on this matter?
I don't get you.
What I mean is that just last week, Friday, you lost a very significant vote when you went to division. I'm asking if, as your side, you are confident in going to another division, confident in calling for another vote on a crucial matter like this one?
Yeah, that is because the last one was secret ballot. So the vote was secret. So you couldn't tell how people will vote. And there's no mechanism to determine how they voted after they have voted. In this case, it is head count. So you will rise and be counted. So you will stand and be counted. And everybody's watching. Your constituents are watching. So if you really are not convinced about it, then you vote according to your conscience, but then you account to your constituents and Ghanaians for voting according to your conscience. So this cannot happen the way that the secret ballot happened. This is, voice vote and head count, and so it is transparent and open, and so everybody's vote is known.
So the opposition to the taxes, I know that it has to do with the suffering Ghanaian. You do not want to burden Ghanaians further. But clearly and surely, you should also be helping the government. This IMF program is very crucial. You have always advised the government to go to the IMF. Now the government has gone to the IMF. These are the antecedents, or these are the issues that are fallout from the decision to go to the IMF. Clearly, you should approve these ones too if you want a successful IMF program, no?
Yeah, we would have been happy to approve everything that they will bring. The IMF didn't just say that they should mobilize more revenue. The IMF also said they should cut down on expenditure. So there are two things that must be done: cutting down on expenditure and then mobilizing more revenue. Government seems to be focusing more on mobilizing more revenue and very, very lean on cutting down on expenditure. That's why, our commitment, has waned in terms of how much support we can lend to government's effort. If we saw them making major efforts to cut down on government expenditure, then we can say, okay, let's also support with the revenue mobilization. But you can't just be interested in asking Ghanaians to pay more taxes and you are not cutting down on the consumption of the taxes for, most of the cases, non-productive use of those resources. So that is why we cannot support it.
You're going on recess from tomorrow. You have this major issue of taxes to deal with. Would there be enough time, sufficient time for you to deal with all the matters before you go on recess?
Well, they've had the entire session to have the taxes considered. Don't forget that these were brought to Parliament somewhere last year. And they themselves have not really expressed serious commitment in pursuing these bills. So they are the ones who have waited till tomorrow. So it's not our responsibility. It's up to them. They brought proposal to impose taxes, so they should have been chasing it. If they waited till tomorrow, we'll be there until the House is adjourned. If it cannot be concluded on tomorrow, we can consider extending our stay. We are ready to work, but we are not ready to impose more hardship on Ghanaians.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking to us. We'll be following keenly what happens in the House tomorrow. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
That's Honorable Muhammad Yarga. He's NDC MP for Boko Central. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 CTFM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabraka in Accra. We are also around the globe on citynewsroom.com. We'll be going to ECG matters now, but before then, Akosua has a story for us.
The Pensioner Bondholders Forum is threatening to go back to picket at the Finance Ministry if the government does not consistently pay matured coupons and principals on their bonds. In a letter copied to the Speaker of Parliament, the group lists some 14 outstanding payments. Here's Dr. Edu Ananientri, the convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, speaking to City News.
There were 2 coupons due on 20th. And 1 principal due on 20th February. The ministry issued a note that they have started paying the coupons, only the coupons. The mature value, they haven't said anything about it. And from that time, we have 14 other coupons due. If he wants to tell us why and give us reasons, we would. That's why we say if you want to engage it, we think it's not very necessary. It's the thing is for you to just pay. But if you want to talk to us, that's fine. But we have given notice and informed the speaker, letting Parliament know that if by 21st, which is 3 weeks, we don't see government having cleared all the arrears and start paying us and when coupons and maturity values are due, we will stop. We will go back to the picketing.
Dr. Edu Anane Entry is convener of the Individual Bondholders Forum. Meanwhile, the government has begun formal talks with the international bondholders through advisors as part of its debt restructuring program. Ghana suspended coupon payments on external debt in December last year, essentially defaulting on its debt to external investors. Government has appointed Lazard as advisors, while a group of international bondholders have also been appointed by Rothschild and Co. to engage in formal talks. Ghana's dollar-denominated debt of more than $13 billion cuts across maturities ranging from 2023 to 2061. The country is already in talks with bilateral creditors for debts restructuring and forgiveness, with the finance minister indicating positive engagements with China. Away from that, the National Democratic Congress has set Monday, April 3, to begin the vetting for all parliamentary aspirants. More than 18 parliamentary aspirants have filed and are expected to go through the vetting committee, a 12-member committee chaired by former Speaker of Parliament, Edward Doajaho, who spearheaded the exercise. Chairman of the Elections Committee, Kakra Isamoah, has been speaking on the development.
We are going to give them copies of the register of voters, those who are qualified to vote at the primaries. And then on 13th May, the primaries will take place for both president and the members of parliament.
Next week, you are starting with the vetting for the parliamentary.
Yes, we'll do so. We are ready. We are going to do so Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. 4th February, am I right? 872 persons, both men and women, have picked nomination forms. I'll be very surprised if there's any misunderstanding, because all of them are very much aware of the rules, and they need to present ourselves as a credible alternative. The NDC now is the government in waiting.
Kakra Isamoah is chairman of the Elections Committee for the National Democratic Congress.
This Eyewitness News on 97.3 CTFM. We are coming to you from our studios in Adabraka in Accra. Let's talk about power now. And there's a statement that we have seen, Gridco and ECG announcing that you would have to sleep in darkness at least for 2 weeks. William Boatin is a co-signatory to that statement. Jifa Bampo is also a signatory. Jifa Bampo is manager corporate communication Gridco. Then William Boatin is Director of Communications, ECG. William Boatin has joined us. Mr. Boatin, welcome to Eyewitness News.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to your listeners.
What is necessitating this decision to give us blackouts in Ghana?
Well, you saw the statement. Affordable gas processing plant is down for maintenance, and it means that we have a technician shortfall. So that has necessitated the load management setup.
Do we not have plans for dealing with such issues, so that we say that we have so many plants, if one is undergoing maintenance, another one should be kicked or fired to make sure we do not suffer the problems we are going to suffer? Because for 2 weeks we are going to suffer doom, so that's a big deal for business owners and so on.
We have plans because
Mr. Boatin, I can't hear you.
I know we have plans, and I'm told we've done a lot to mitigate this particular situation. It's unfortunate that we have reached a stage where we have to announce this particular schedule to make it for continence. Because if you take yesterday, for example, we talk about only 1 hour and then power was restored. So a lot is still ongoing to more like prevent the outage or the load management. But if it comes to the West, this is what we think we should put across so that we are truthful to our stakeholders.
You are not a producer, you are a distributor. So the issues about production will not really be your question to answer. So what you can answer to is the issue of distribution. When are people going to know when they will be going off? You said you will be providing them with a timetable.
Yes, it is ready, about the this was going to bed. I am certain that by Saturday you see the hard copy in the national dailies, and by this, tomorrow morning, you will definitely see the timetable. We'll have it on our website, and we'll blast it on the social media handles.
Because your operation area will not go to the north, I would assume then that the northern part of the country will not be affected by this.
I also know that because of their load, which is very small, I'm not sure they will be part of this.
So this will be mostly a Southern Ghana issue?
Yes, the starting.
And you are certain that it will last for only 2 weeks?
Well, according to what I even have with me now, based on the table, it will last for about 10 days, about 9 days. We are producing, or we will publish the timetable today, and the exercise will come to an end on the 7th of April. That means Good Friday. All things being equal, Good Friday.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Yeah, thank you.
That's William Boatin. He's Director of Communication at the Electricity Company of Ghana. Let's go to Parliament now, but not specifically to talk about Parliament. We're talking about the Jubilee House. That's the seat of government. That seat of government, the officials there who run it, President Akosua as the head, has written to the House of Parliament to declare how many people are currently engaged at the Jubilee House. The figure stands at 1,048. The story is on citynewsroom.com. It gives a breakdown of the people who are there, and it says there are presidential staff employed at the office of the president during the period, the ranks and grades of these staff, and employees of other public services assigned to the office of the president. The report, according to the City Newsroom publication, revealed that during the reporting period, there were 2 ministers of state and 44 senior presidential staffers at post. The other political appointees at the office of the president numbered 315. This brings the number of political appointees to 361. It is also instructive, according to the statement, to note that in keeping with the established practice of previous governments of the Fourth Republic, the 315 other political appointees include special assistants, executive assistants, personal assistants to ministers and state regional ministers, employees in the office of the vice president, aides and assistants assigned to the first lady and second lady, as well as employees assigned to government agencies under the office of the president, such as NIP, Free SHS, MASLOC, Special Development Initiative, Secretariat, Monitoring Evaluation, Secretariat, Zongo, and Inner Cities Development. Moreover, in addition, and this is a report I'm quoting for you, to the political appointees at the office of the president, employees of the public sector organizations assigned to the office were also included. Let me see if we have... Okay, so that's just by way of publication what we have seen from the Jubilee House. One person who has taken issue with the size of government is the NDC MP for North Tong. He speaks for the party on foreign affairs issues and also sometimes on cathedral matters. The Honorable Samuel Kujetwa Black, welcome to Eyewitness News.
Hi, Umaru. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I'm just looking at the breakdown of the figures. We've done here a trend analysis. In 2018, the staff strength at Jubilee House was 957. In 2019, the figure reduced to 934. In 2020, the figure remained at 934. In 2021, the figure went up to 995. and now in 2022 is 1,048. The figure may look huge, but the government is explaining that, well, these include persons who are in the employ of other services connected to the Jubilee House. Is that a fair justification?
Good evening to you and good evening to all your listeners. I must be very, very sincere with you, Umaru. President Akosua is absolutely intransigent. He's obstinate. He has a stony heart. I even wonder if he's a Democrat. He simply doesn't listen. If you do the analysis of the political appointees, the numbers have gone up from 337 last year, the 2021 report which we received last year. You know, per the Presidential Office Act, you are to report within 3 months of the following year. So the 2021 staffing report, he had appointed a colossal, an elephantine 337 political appointees. And when you add the other public and civil servants, which were 658 in that report, you have 995. At the time, we are going through the worst economic crisis in living memory. At the time that everybody, including for the first time in our history, diplomats, you recall the German ambassador in that quite rare interview, pleading with the Ghanaian president that if you want us to talk to our colleagues in the Paris Club, to talk to China, you should lead by example, you should show sensitivity, you should be responsible, reduce your size of government, because our countries do not have these obese governments. And yet you expect us to talk to our taxpayers, our citizens, that this is the arrangement we are negotiating with you to give you some debt reprieve, some debt restructuring, and some debt forgiveness. Meanwhile, you are not acting responsibly. In the midst of all of these appeals from organized labor, from the Catholic Bishop Conference, from the Charismatic and Pentecostal Council, from the civil society organizations of our country, and the opposition, President Akosua, in the midst of this economic meltdown, has increased the numbers on both sides. If you look at the political appointees, it has gone up from 337 to 361. Will you believe that? He has decided that he simply won't listen to anybody. You look at the other category, the civil and public servants, that has also gone up from 658 in the 2021 report to 687. And as you have rightly pointed out, we now have, for the first time in this country's history, I mean, if there is any time that we should be recording this, it should be a time that we are doing so well, the economy is buoyant, we are probably the fastest growing economy, we don't have all the crises that we are grappling with, the debt to GDP, which is at 103%, the inflation, which is at 52%, all the downgrades that all the sovereign rating agencies have accorded Ghana. We're now in junk status. We've been declared insolvent. We're bankrupt. For the first time in more than 50 years, we cannot pay our debt. We have defaulted on our debt. In the midst of all this crisis, this is a time that this president has made history by having more than 1,000 staffers, 1,048. I mean, it's unprecedented. I have been going through the list as our records have it here in Parliament. If you look at the category of political appointees, President Rawlings had just about 13. presidential staffers and political appointees. President Kufuor, by the time he was leaving office in 2008, he increased to about 21, still under 30, and you go through the trend all the way to Professor Mills's era, where they added drivers, laborers, and all of those junior political appointees. In the category of political appointees, we've never gone beyond 150. Never in the entire history of our Fourth Republic. Now we have a president who takes us to 361, has more than doubled the numbers, almost tripled the category of political appointees. Then you go through the statement that they've issued. They want to create the impression that, oh, you know what, they are not all working at the presidency physically, some at other departments, and that some can be classified as public servants and all of that. Look, the fact that they have found it necessary to even put out that statement, and they are engaging in all of this rigmarole, really, should tell you that they themselves know that what they are doing is totally unconscionable. Whether they work directly at the seat of government, in the president's office, or some amorphous institutions that they have created. The last time I said in Parliament that, look, we have all been told, if you read the literature, that the gold standard for debt restructuring in periods like this is Jamaica. What Jamaica did was to cut down 40 institutions. They slashed 14, identified 40 bureaucracies. In the case of Ghana, why should we have a Ghana Health Service, have a Ministry of Health? They appointed a task force for COVID, and yet the president decided to create a COVID-19 secretariat at the presidency. Why should we have, at this time, in our country's history, why should we have a secretariat for special development initiatives? Why should we have a secretariat for monitoring and evaluation at the presidency? I mean, you look at a lot of these secretariats, a lot of these portfolios, very amorphous, very nebulous. I mean, you wonder what is going on here. All kinds of duplications, all kinds of, jobs for the boys. But all of this come at taxpayer expense. That is why, Umaru, we are saying that what our colleagues did, the pain would not leave us. The treachery that they exhibited. You see, this has emboldened the president. If we had all stood by the words we had said, the promise we made to the Ghanaian people, and boldly fought this president, stood by our pledges, and stood by the Ghanaian people, and accounted for our numbers, all 136. That day, last Friday, we had a fighting chance. We had the numbers to defeat them. I am sure that if last Friday, all 136 of us had voted in that secret vote to reject those appointees, those 8 nominees, I don't think the president will have had the courage to do this. So, in a sense, I am forced to blame some of our colleagues, the traitors amongst us who have brought us here, because we are basically emboldening this president, telling him that, yes, you can do your worst, your allies, even amongst the opposition, will continue to cheer you on in secret, will continue to endorse your callous policies and actions. And I am deeply, deeply pained. I'm so horrified and hurt by the treachery that some of our colleagues have exhibited. And really,
have you found who they are, though? Because all of you are suspects now at this stage, including your very good self.
Fortunately, the National Democratic Congress leadership has taken a serious view of this matter. And I salute the General Secretary for the systems he has put in place to check and verify, to know those who voted in the national interest and those who engaged in this treachery. And as you have noted, I have made it to his now famous list. I mean, there is absolutely no way. You know that consistently I've been leading the crusade against the president's obese and bloated government, which really is obscene. And there is absolutely no way in my conscience, in all good conscience, that I will vote for any of these, actions or decisions of the president.
Okay.
Remember, during the debate, I made it clear that it's not about the individuals. They may be friends, they may be colleagues in the House, but it's the principle. It's the principle. If the president wants us to approve, particularly those key ministries, agri trade, he should just downsize. Particularly at a time like this when fisheries and aquaculture can be added to agri.
Okay.
Railways can be added to transport. Chieftaincy can be added to tourism. Sanitation can be added to local government, as it used to be. Information can be added to communications. If the president had done that, it wouldn't really matter the persons, once they are members of parliament, they meet the constitutional requirement and they've acquitted themselves at vetting. We will have approved his ministers. But he refused to listen to Ghanaians, and unfortunately, he got traitors on our side to bring us where we are. So I hope the traitors are happy now. What we are seeing now is an emboldened president, and now there's no stopping. There's no stopping the president. Here we are, we've exceeded 1,000 for the first time in our country's history. We are 1,048. Only God knows what the 2023 report will look like.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's leave it here for now. That's Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa, MP for North Town, speaking to us on the staffers at the presidency as reported to the Jubilee House. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 CTFM. Akosua, what do you have for us next?
Measles cases in the northern region are declining according to health officials in the region. This follows an outbreak of the disease in the region in October last year. Speaking to City News on the sidelines of its annual performance health review meeting, the acting Northern Regional Director of Health, Dr. Brahma Baba Abubakar, revealed that the disease is now under control.
Once we received the vaccines, we distributed them to all the districts. Now we'll also do further distribution to sub-districts and to the community level for the routine immunization or vaccination to continue. These vaccines we received were not quantities that we can do mass campaigns to catch up everybody.
Dr. Brahma Baba Abubakar is the acting Northern Regional Director of Health.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. City Business News. Be informed.
Time now for City Business News on Eyewitness News, powered by citybusinessnews.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Let's settle for the details now. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has dismissed assertions that the 5.5 billion cedis approved by Parliament in 2021 is not for the payment of customers of defunct Gold Coast Management, now Black Shield only. SEC says the money is for all investors of the 47 fund management companies that were collapsed by the regulator. The clarification follows comments by some clients of Black Shield Fund Management suggesting that the said funds ought to be disbursed to investors of the fund alone. SEC further indicated that all investors with validated claims have been contacted by the Amalgamated Fund and GCB Capital Limited for onward action. SEC also assured customers of Black Shield Fund Management of its continuous collaboration towards addressing their concerns. Now, away from that, the Bank of Ghana has assured that it will continue to put in place measures to ensure the proper handling of the Ghana local currency notes. According to the bank, some Ghanaians handle currency notes poorly, thus the need to intensify public education on the proper handling of the notes. Addressing the press as part of celebrating the bank's Ghana Month series, Director of Currency Management at the BOG, Dominic Owusu, noted that this will help market the country.
The central bank, through its engagement with its stakeholders, continue to do education. We have an educational committee. We go around. When we are issuing banknotes, we have flyers going around that we try to educate the public. So I think that as we celebrate the Ghana Month, let's do ourselves a lot of good to educate the public on how to keep the currency. And as I've said, it is the business card you have. It is the only thing that everybody has. When somebody wants to know Ghana and they come into the country, the first time they get in contact with is the currency. So help us to market Ghana by keeping the currency clean. Counterfeiting is everywhere. So when we say counterfeit, somebody takes a photocopier and copies a banknote, it's a counterfeit. Somebody takes a printer and then copies the banknote, it's a counterfeit. So the central bank, but what the central bank is always guarding against is to make sure that the features that is used to authenticate the banknote is way ahead of the counterfeiter.
That was the Director of Currency Management at the Bank of Ghana, Dominic Owusu. The Ghana Federation of Labour is raising concerns over the growing rate of unemployment as many businesses struggle to stay afloat. The group says it is worried that thousands of jobs are lost on a regular basis as companies fold up due to what they describe as the unfriendly business environment in the country. Speaking to City Business News, the Secretary General of the Federation, Abraham Kumsin, says government needs to relax the tax burden on the business community in order to ensure job security and protect businesses.
Company owners are laying off workers because of non-competitive business that they are in. If you go to the textiles, industry used to employ about 25 to 30,000. At the moment, we are left with less than 2,000 workers. And the companies remaining in that sector, we have GTP, which used to employ about 3,000 workers. They have now less than 600. Akosua Textiles, they used to employ about 4,000. Now they are about 600 workers. GTMC totally closed down, which used to employ about 4,000. The company is no more there. The Textiles is no more there. They are virtually finished. So if you want, at the moment we have about three bills pending in Parliament. Right. They are all taxes. And that is the problem that we have. Because if you continue to do that, and because you are saying it is IMF condition, so eventually it will destroy the local industry. Businesses, they will relocate.
Abraham Kumsin is the Secretary General of the Ghana Federation of Labour. Now, policy think tank Consumer Unity and Trust Society CUTS is urging government to quicken efforts to pass the competition bill to ensure efficient market practices. The think tank explains that the absence of a competition law in the country has hampered opportunities to enjoy the best goods and services on the market. Speaking on the sidelines of a stakeholder consultative meeting in Accra, the West African Regional Director of CUTS International, Apiakusi Adumako, said the law, when passed, will stimulate innovation as African countries move to trade on the African Continental Free Trade Area.
We need competition law to guide the conduct of the market because when businesses are competing and you don't have laws to guide them, what it means is that some of the players can decide to do restrictive practices. For example, we've seen for many years some businesses are fixing prices. Some of them are doing what we call bid rigging and abusing their monopolies and their dominance in the market. And the competition law is the only law that can handle all these things. And even from the best practice perspective, African Continental Free Trade Agreement also requires all countries to have competition law. So we also want to urge the government, Ministry of Trade, to work on ensure that the competition bill is passed into law, at least towards. We want to urge the Ministry of Trade to ensure that the competition bill is passed into law in no time.
That was the West African Regional Director of CATS International, Apia Kusi Adomako. Meanwhile, Director of the Policy at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Michael Opoku, says the law has been delayed as government sought to align with the protocols of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
From a policy perspective, economic analysis remains central to the development of competition law. And so the law went through several processes. It was on its way to cabinet, and then the AFCFTA negotiations began. So the ministry thought it wise to hold on to it. Let's see how the AFTA is structured. Initially, during the pre-negotiation stages of the AFTA, we were not sure whether we are going to have a supranational authority where we have a higher African authority with authorities in member states working in collaboration with the supranational authority, or we are going to have a combination of the regional competition authorities working in collaboration with the supranational competition authority. Unlike EU, where you have member states with one competition commission, in Africa the complexity is that we have regional competition authorities.
That was the Director of Policy at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Michael Opoku. Now, finally, some vendors at the just held Back to Your Village Food Bazaar are already recorded major sales after the fair. The two-day event held at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly forecourt over the weekend is part of City FM and City TV's Heritage month-long program. Speaking to City Business News, some of the vendors expressed excitement at the increase in demand for their goods since they partook in the bazaar.
So calls are coming through. Usually for the Gang Kinke, we do deliveries. We call it Lunch Up Your Day. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we serve all those who call to order, those who don't want to move out of their offices for lunch. We will deliver it to wherever you are. So yes, calls have been coming in, and we are looking forward to more of those calls coming through.
I think the experience was a good one, and so far so good. I've had some orders. I've had people calling me from reaching out to me on Instagram and saying, oh, we're at the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar and we saw you, and so we want you to make some for us. I had someone tell me that she's going on an excursion and she wants to get the whole bus to have my snacks. So I think so far so good. It's been good.
Yeah, so I think it has been very, very good and very successful. Even after the bazaar, for instance, on Monday, I couldn't go to work because I was a bit tired. Then my team called and they were like, oh, people are calling in, they are asking for dawa jollof rice, they are asking for tozafi, and then they are like, oh, we are the City FM, City TV bazaar, but we want to buy. So there were a lot of even order deliveries even on Monday. Even till today, there's still a lot of demand, yes, with our meals.
Those were some vendors at the just ended Back to Your Village Food Bazaar speaking on their experience so far. That's all for City Business News on Eyewitness News. It was powered by your most comprehensive business website, citybusinessnews.com. My name is Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
If home is where the heart is, then let's go home, shall we? Let's go where the entertainment is. Where the passion is. Where the laughter is. And sometimes, even the tears too. Let's go where we feel safe enough to share our opinions.
And send tweets.
Where we do that embarrassing little dance to our favorite song. Let's go home where the love, the care, and the joy live.
There's no place like home. Connect your home to super fast internet with affordable data bundles from MTN Home. Visit broadband.mtn.com.gh or your My MTN app to sign up today. MTN.
You know your papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, papa! Papa! Oh, Bobo, so how your engine now? It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that? Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panzapa. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Hey, Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
Oh, Jack, now, where are you in a hurry to?
Child, I'm going to Imperial to do my car insurance.
What's happening there? Because Info and Yaba also told me they're going there this morning for their car insurance.
Masa, you haven't heard. Now, the Imperial is the name in insurance in Ghana here.
Really?
Share. Imperial General is saying, come insure your vehicle with them at any of their branches or agents or even online from now till the end of March 2023 and get yourself handsome rewards, fuel coupons, special souvenirs, gift vouchers, and many, many more. And here's the catch. During this reward period, you will also get a free 1-year life insurance cover in addition to your motor insurance cover.
What the wow! So does it include with the taxi drivers and the e-taxis?
Hey, everybody qualifies, so just come insure your car and you are done. Call 0302-788-955 for further details. T's and C's apply. Imperial General Assurance. Solid protection.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. I am Umaru, Sanda, Amadu. It's some 12 minutes to 1900 GMT. On Point Blank tonight, we're looking at an eviction that happened somewhere in the central region, Bujumbura. We're told over 1,000 residents were evicted by someone who secured a court injunction. The over 1,000 people who were evicted are displaced as we speak. The president's representative in that area is the district chief executive for Gomwa East. His name is Solomon Daku Kwam. Mr. Daku Kwam, you're welcome to CTFM.
Thank you, my brother, and good evening.
Your residents in Sun City, Bujumbura, we are told, were evicted from their homes today. They were taken unawares. What does the assembly know about the situation?
Thank you, my brother. Just as you rightly said, we were all equally taken unawares because we hadn't received any prior notice to that effect. And so it came as a big surprise to us when news started coming to us in that regard, that over thousands of people, nursing mothers, sick people, all manner of people had been forcibly ejected from their homes because somebody claims to have won a judgment in court. And so he had gone there with the support of the police, Central East Police Administration, to execute that order. So yes, it was a big surprise to us. So we we flatly, rejected that move, and actually told the people, they can choose to obey it or disobey that thing, because the processes were flawed, and we cannot entertain such things. So that is our position as a district, our assembly.
Explain what you mean by the processes were flawed. We are told it was a court decision. No.
Yeah. Thank you. It was. So I'm told, and indeed, when I went there, some of the people produced some paper, something. Do I call it a ruling or whatever from the court? But so I'm not a lawyer. When at least I assumed office, this is not the first time we are having such a situation. The police themselves and our various councils, our lawyers, assembly lawyers, have both educated us that when somebody wins such a case regarding recovery of their landed property, which has been more or less occupied by some other people, there are processes, and we have some of them currently running between us and the Central East Police Administration.
No, let me just understand this. So is it that you don't think the judgment is genuine, or you believe that the judgment is genuine but you do not think it should be executed? Which one are you saying?
Okay. In fact, I cannot comment on the judgment because, one, I am not party to the case and all that, so that I don't have any problem with the judgment being genuine or fraudulent or whatever.
So it's possible that this gentleman secured a proper judgment in a proper court of law.
What I'm saying is that you need a proper judgment from a proper court, so to speak. But after that judgment is served on the assembly.
Let's take it one step at a time. Do you have any reason to doubt the authenticity of the judgment that was used as a basis for the eviction?
Oh, that much I don't.
Okay, good.
And I don't want to go there.
So it's possible that it's genuine, and it looks like it is genuine. Okay, the next issue is, why do they have to serve it on you, the assembly, when you are not the one who is occupying their land? The ones who are occupying are the residents. They've gone to remove them. The court says it's your land and everything on it. Go and take your land. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, that's where I was trying to explain to you that on assumption of this position, the police themselves and our various lawyers have constantly maintained that after such judgment, the processes the ruling is served on the assembly that I have won this case to claim this my portion of land over here. It is not the individual who goes to the police and marshals them to the venue to evict them. In fact, this is the first time I'm seeing it since I assumed office about 6 years now. Anytime anybody has won such a case, it is brought to the assembly's attention. Then the assembly, we write to the police that this such and such person has won this case to recover his land at this place. So the assembly is leading the exercise. We the assembly will need the police assistance to execute that. And that
this is just your wish. It is not compulsory, is it?
It is not my wish. It is the process, the lay down process. And you
lay down where? Where is it laid down that if I secured a judgment that says the land at a particular place belongs to me, I need to come to the local assembly and say to the assembly, I have won this. I want you to help me execute. I'm not sure the judge stated that. Did the judge state that? Or is there any bylaw in your district that says if someone secures a judgment relating to ownership of land, they should bring it to the assembly before they go executing?
We don't. It is not the bylaw from our assembly, but that is the practice. So
it's just a practice, but it is not law.
Hello, if you doubt it, I want you to call the Central East Regional Police Commander and ask whether we have one of such case pending that we are together working on.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, so this is just an agreement.
Procedure.
So it's just a gentleman's agreement. It's not compulsory.
No, it's not a gentleman's agreement between me and anybody. That is the laid down procedure. That happens every assembly.
Where is it a law? Is it written anywhere? Is there any rule anywhere? Because if you say it's laid down in what or where?
Perhaps your lawyers and maybe the police themselves will explain to you, because we have one that has been won in court and that has been served on us. We had to write to the police. They had to refer it to the police legal department and all that. So go to ask the police people. They will tell you that is a norm. And that is the reason why we have a beef with this particular one, because this one was done without our knowledge.
The district police commander reports to you to an extent, doesn't he?
So to speak.
And he never mentioned any such thing that he's deploying men to go and help evict thousands of your residents.
Not at all, and not even when I called the regional police command.
Is the regional commander aware of this?
Aware of the demolition, the eviction?
Yes.
When I called initially, he told me he was not aware there was going to be any sighting, and that he was calling to check, but it was delayed. So I moved to the scene. It was when I got there that they had finished evicting them, and over 15 police cars were trooping out of the place. And I said I can't accept that, because the same processes that the police are helping us, leading us to execute in Millennium City, which is close by, around their police station, close by. Since October last year, we haven't finished that process.
So have you reversed what happened then? Is that what you are doing? You are reversing the action of the police today? I told them
that we cannot apply two separate processes or laws in the same district. And so this thing they have done, it's not acceptable. So I told the people that it's up to them if they want to go by it. But anybody who decides to get back into their facility, I am for it, because the processes are flawed.
Are you not sure that what you are doing flies in the face of the law as the foremost law enforcer in the district? When law enforcement officers go to remove people from their rooms, you have told them to go back. We are told that the people who did the removal brought their own padlocks and locked up these places. Now you are asking them to go back. You want them to go break these padlocks, try to get back into their rooms, and that would be a recipe for chaos, don't you think?
But the police themselves and the so-called owner of the suit, that is they started the negative, the flawed process. And that's why I'm saying they should come and then for us to start the process properly.
But why don't you call the commander to order then, so that he would then...
I called him. You called the regional commander. I called him.
Not regional. I'm talking about the district commander. Since he deployed the men to go do what they went to do, have you tried to explain to him that what he did is flawed, and that you are going to ask the residents to go back into their rooms, and that if they go back into their rooms, no police should stop them?
Officer, I told the regional commander that they should stop the boys from whatever they are doing there, because he knows that the processes, the laid down processes that they and us have been following all this while, it has not been followed in this one.
Has he listened?
I cannot take it.
Has he listened?
Has he listened?
To you? Has he listened to your call?
That is what I'm saying. By the time I got there, they had asked the boys to come back.
Did you call him on the phone? Did you meet him subsequent to that?
Come again.
Did you call the commander or meet him subsequent to that and say that I want to reverse what you have gone to do?
No, I haven't met him, because I told him to withdraw the gentleman, and he withdrew them.
So tonight, what happens to these people? They would sleep outside.
I told them they can go back inside for them to go, whoever it is, to go and follow the processes properly, because we cannot have two separate processes in the same district.
Mr. DC, we will come back to your place tomorrow to see who wins, whether your side would win or the side of the victor would win. But thank you for speaking to us tonight.
Thank you too for the call. I'm grateful.
We appreciate that. Solomon Daku Kwam. He's a DCE for Gomoa East. The area under contention or discussion is Sun City in Budomburam. The issue is that someone said he won a judgment from court, took policemen to go evict the people there who were on the land in their homes. Over 1,000 people. The district chief executive says that is not right. Even though the judgment may have been secured properly, the action subsequent was wrong, and he has asked the people to go back to their rooms. The people, though, those who would be bold enough to go back may go back if they are not prevented. But those who don't may have to sleep outside. They remain displaced. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 City FM. That's how we end tonight's edition of the program. My name is Umaru, Sanda, Amadu. I did this with Akosua, Otchere. Technical support from Daniel Squashy. Production, in terms of content, was handled by Bevelyn London, Kwabena Wilson, and David Nee Latte. On the new media side of things, Emmanuel Ose handled that bit for us. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.